All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Keep in mind that next Tuesday I will not be here, so you're having a day off. So we're going to try and get through the next chapter as well today. So we may bleed over into lab time, but you'll have extra time to, I guess, look and review. If you have questions, email me. I won't have email access on Tuesday, but I should have it on Monday and Wednesday as well if you have any questions. All right, so
we're lab today. Will we have a new lab assignment today?
Yes. And then we'll probably have a midterm because we've actually been cruising through this book pretty well. So early midterm, so you can get the midterm out before everyone else does their midterm. I think that'll be a good decision. We'll have to decide what day y'all want it. But we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go ahead and finish up chapter 8 with segmentation, and then afterwards we'll go into virtual memory. Okay, segmentation. Earlier we talked about paging. If you remember, pages are supposed to represent logical addresses from the CPU that will map to a physical address, aka a frame that's in main memory. So segmentation, the idea here is that your program, or most programs, are actually divided into different sections or segments. You might have the main program, different procedures, functions, methods, local variables, a stack or a symbol table as well, and different arrays. So the idea here is that those different segments can actually exist on different parts or different physical memory address. They don't have to exist contiguously one next to the other, although your program from the CPU is going to look that way. For example, we have over here, you have subroutine, stack, symbol table, maybe a square root function in a main program. Maybe those different sections of your code exist in different parts of physical memory. So this is called segmentation, because in general you think these would be connected somehow, but in reality they're just wherever the operating system decided to put your program at that time. That's all this is. And just like paging, there is some support for it. Segment table maps the physical address. It has a base and a limit, of course, just like with your paging. And then segment has the base register, points to the location memory, and then the length, how long the segmentation is. Protection bits. With each entry, associate the valid bit. All right, so if it's not valid, it's illegal. So you can protect your segmentation as well with protection bits. Oh, good. Diagrams. This will probably look very similar. CPU, again, coming out with a logical address, which is different than the physical address. But you need to come over, first off, test is it an addressing error, because if it is, the operating system needs to come in and interrupt and say, hey, look, this is not a valid reference, aka segmentation fault. Otherwise, it'll go into your segment table and then be able to determine, well, append, of course, the address, but then also make sure that it's valid again. Because one, it could be out of the limit of the segmentation, and then two, it could not actually be in the segment table at this time, and maybe the operating system needs to come in and update it. Naturally, there's a lot more checking, but again, your TLB can help you here as well. All right. Putting it all together, to give you a good big picture, segment 0, maybe it's subroutine. Let's see, limit 100. The base is 1400, so it's going to be right here. Limit's 1000. So there's one section. Notice that segment 1, square root. Base is 6300, 400 is length, so it might be down here. Similar to paging, except for your segments are usually contiguous for certain parts of your program. Okay. I didn't talk about too much hardware support, but I did mention there's a lot of hardware support for paging as well as segmentation. And there's been hardware support for a long time, but the classic one nowadays to look at is Intel Pentium. So that was 90s. Please note that all modern processors have a version of this that's actually a little more powerful. But they have the MMU, Memory Management Unit. So the CPU has logical addresses, and the MMU is going to actually look and store, or be able to store, given a segment unit, which produces a linear address. Paging units form equivalent of the MMU. All right, Intel has hardware support for this. That's all that really matters here.
Does that mean AMP does not?
Of course, AMD does. Their memory MMUs inside their CPUs as well. Otherwise, their chips would be incredibly slow.
So Intel has support, who doesn't?
Nowadays, everyone has support.
Okay.
It's just the Pentium is the classic one to start with, because it was, when it came out, that was one of the big performance boosts, is that it actually had hardware support for all the virtual memory that desktops are using. Because mid-90s, Windows 95 was coming out, and where you did have to have virtual memory for different processes, because 95 was actually the first true multi-processing system from Microsoft. I mean, desktop one, I should say, not their server side. Because 3.1 was really still just DOS with a GUI slapped on top of it. Okay. Yeah, it knows that the page number is split in two. What does that imply about the paging system here?
2 level.
2 level. All right. So a segment unit, and then the paging unit, and then finally the physical memory. Oh, okay. So the selector, let's see, logical address goes into what the descriptor should be, of course, and then produces the offset. Yep. And then the page table, you have the directory, which is your first level, page table is your second, and then again your offset to figure out where it should be. All right. So in Linux, we have global directory, middle directory, page table, and then offset. So how many layers in this one? 12. Where'd you get 12 from? So this one had 3. Yeah, okay. I was going to say, the other one had 2. This one added another one. Now we're up to 3. All right. Same thing, except now it's 3 different layers. All right, that's in for chapter 8.
That was quick.
Oh, good. That's all you wanted?